Dear students, I am Mahesh Javalkar of Maratha Polytechnic, and today I am posting my second video on microcontrollers DCET questions. And in this video, I'm going to cover the topics of Harvard and von Neumann architectures and microprocessor and microcontrollers. So let's start with the first question, question number 21. So this question asks how many types of architectures are available for designing a device that is able to work on its own. Okay. So now basically there are two types of architecture. One is called as von Neumann architecture and the other one is called as Harvard architecture. The basic difference between them is von Neumann will have a common memory for program and data, whereas Harvard will have a separate memory for program and data. Okay, so this is the common difference between them. So as far as this question is concerned, how many types of architectures are available for designing a device that is able to work on its own? So basically there are two types of architecture. So here the answer should be two. Answer should be 2. Okay. Then we'll go to the next question. Which architecture is followed by general purpose microprocessors? Okay. So here the options are Harvard architecture, von Neumann architecture, none of the mentioned and all of the mentioned. So out of the two architectures, the answer here is von Neumann architecture because all the general purpose microprocessors use von Neumann architecture because it is simpler in design. Okay, so here the answer should be von Neumann architecture. Okay, then we'll go to the next question, question number 23. Which architecture involves both volatile and the non-volatile memory? Okay, volatile and the non-volatile memories are those which when there is power on, it will save data. When there is no power, data is lost. Okay, so that makes the difference between volatile and non-volatile memory. Now here he is asking which architecture out of von Neumann and Harvard, which architecture involves both volatile and non-volatile memory? So the answer here is Harvard architecture. Harvard architecture uses both volatile and non-volatile memories because this increases its efficiency as both memories are being used in this architecture. Okay, then here the answer should be Harvard architecture. Okay, so Harvard architecture is one which involves volatile and non-volatile memories. Then we'll go to the next question, question number 24. Which architecture provides separate buses for program and data memory? Now here, obviously, the answer will be Harvard architecture. It has separate buses for program and data because program and data memories are separate. Now, a program are the instructions, are the coding software, what we write for an application. Okay, and data is something which is used by the program. Okay, for the manipulation of data, we are going to write a program. So, program instructions or code is written in the program memory, whereas the data used by the program is stored in the data memory. So you have separate two memories, and because of that, it provides separate buses. So it is Harvard architecture. So here the answer will be Harvard architecture. Harvard architecture provides separate buses for program and data memory. Okay. Then we'll go to the next question, question number 25. Which microcontroller does not match with its architecture below? Okay, now the options here are option A says a microchip PIC microcontroller has Harvard architecture, MSP 430 has Harvard architecture, ARM 7 has von Neumann architecture, and ARM 9 has Harvard architecture. Out of this, the second option, that is MSP 430, MSP 430 is not having Harvard architecture, it supports von Neumann architecture. So here does not match a combination is combination B. Which microcontroller does not match with its architecture? So MSP 430 and Harvard does not match because MSP 430 supports von Neumann architecture. Then we'll go to the next question, question number 26. It says that Harvard architecture allows, okay, Now again, this is a basic question. You should know the features of Harvard architecture. Now here, the option A is separate program and data memory. It is right. Option B is pipelining. That is also correct. And option C is complex architecture. That is also right as compared to von Neumann. Okay. So all the three, A, B, C, all the above mentioned features are there which are associated with the Harvard architecture. So here the option should be option D, all of the mentioned. Okay. Then we'll go to the next question, question number 27. Why most of the digital signal processors, DSPs, use Harvard architecture? So why most of the DSPs, ICs, use Harvard architecture? So a DSP are going to use Harvard architecture for their system. Now now the options here are they provide greater bandwidth. Option B is they provide more predictable bandwidth. Option C is they provide greater bandwidth and also more predictable bandwidth. And option D is none of the mentioned. So out of this, the option C, which says that they provide greater bandwidth and also more predictable bandwidth. Bandwidth can be predicted. Okay. So that is the reason why most of the DSPs use Harvard architecture. So it is greater bandwidth also, and it is more predictable bandwidth. You can predict the bandwidth. Okay, so it is option C, which is the right answer over here. Then we'll go to the next question, question number 28. Which of the two architectures save memory? So out of Harvard and von Neumann, it is von Neumann architecture which saves memory because it has only one memory for both program and data. Okay, because it is having one memory for both program and data, it is going to save a lot of memory. So here the answer should be answer B, von Neumann. So which architecture saves a memory is von Neumann. Then we'll go to the next question, question number 29. Which architectural scheme has a provision of two sets for address and data between CPU and memory? Obviously, it is Harvard architecture because Harvard architecture is going to use separate memory for data and separate memory for program. So it will have two sets for addresses and data buses. Okay. So here the option A will be the right answer, Harvard architecture. Clear? Then we'll go to the next question. Question number 30. Which kind of multiplexing scheme is adopted by von Neumann architecture, especially for program and data fetching purposes? Now here, von Neumann architecture has a common memory for program and data, and therefore it should have some multiplexing schemes where these two codes or data are multiplexed. Okay. Now the options here are time division multiplexing, frequency division multiplexing, statistical TDM, and code division multiplexing. Okay. So out of this, the basic digital type of multiplexing, that is option A, time division multiplexing is the answer. So a time division multiplexing is a scheme which is adopted by von Neumann architecture, especially for program and data fetching purposes. Okay, so the answer is time division multiplexing. Then we'll go to the next question, question number 31. A Princeton architecture is also known as, it is the other name of von Neumann architecture. Okay, so von Neumann architecture is also known as Princeton architecture. So here the option A is the right answer. A Princeton architecture is also known as von Neumann architecture. Okay. Then we'll go to the next question, question number 32. A microcontroller at least should consist. Option A says RAM, ROM, IO devices, serial and parallel ports and timers. Option B says CPU, RAM, IO devices, serial, parallel ports and timers. Option C says CPU, RAM, ROM, IO devices, serial, parallel ports and timers. And option D says CPU, ROM, IO devices and timers. Okay. Now if you carefully observe all these options, basically a microcontroller should have a CPU. Okay. So along with CPU, it should have other features like random access memory, read-only memory, IO devices, serial or parallel ports, and timers. So out of these four options, the option C is the right answer, because first is basic CPU, and then CPU is added with the features like RAM, ROM, IO devices, serial, parallel ports, and timers. Okay, so option C is the right answer. Okay, so these are the basic features which at least a microcontroller should consist. Then we'll go to the next question, question number 33. Here he is asking, unlike microprocessors, microcontrollers make use of batteries because why? Because they have low power consumption. That is the best answer. That is the correct answer over here, because microcontrollers are based on the concept of very large scale integration technology, VLSI technology. So here we are going to use CMOS based logic gates more, and CMOS is a concept, is a technology which consumes low power. Okay, so here the answer will be low power consumptions. Microcontrollers make use of batteries as compared to microprocessors because they have low power consumption. So option B is the right answer over here. Then we'll go to the next question, question number 34. What is the order decided by a processor or the CPU of a controller to execute an instruction? So options here are decode, fetch, execute, execute, fetch, decode, fetch, execute, decode, and fetch, decode, execute. Okay. So in this, if you observe it, first the instruction should be fetched. It should be brought from the memory to your unit where you're going to decode and execute it. Okay. Now, once the instruction is fetched, it is in a hexadecimal number. Okay. Now that hexadecimal number should be decoded to binary number in ones and zeros so that you can understand what is the function. 1 is plus 5 volt and 0 will be taken as a 0 volt. And with those variation in voltages, the system will understand what is the operation, and then the execution takes place, whether it is arithmetic or a logical execution. Clear? So always the order should be fetch the instruction, decode the instruction, and then execute the instruction. So here the option D will be the right answer. Fetch, decode, and execute. Okay. Then we'll go to the next question, question number 35. How are microcontrollers classified on the basis of internal bus width? Okay, now if you see here in these options, option B says that there is a 4-bit microcontroller, 8-bit microcontroller, 16-bit microcontroller, 32-bit microcontroller. So this order is the right one, because earlier we had a 4-bit microcontroller also, which would handle a nibble 4 bits. Then came a byte of 8 bits. Then came a double byte of 16 bits. And then came a 32 bits of 4 bytes. Clear? And afterwards the advanced 64 and all will continue. But basically out of these options, option B will be the right answer. 4, 8, 16, 32 bits. Clear? So this is how the microcontrollers are classified on the basis of internal bus width. Okay, how much data it can handle at one time. Okay, how much parallel data you can send. So it can be a nibble, it can be a byte, it can be a double byte, or it can be 4 bytes. Okay, then we'll go to the next question, question number 36. Give the names of the buses present in a controller for transferring data from one place to another. Okay, now whenever we are going to transfer data from one place to another, the first bus, the first set of wires which will come into picture is the control bus, because it is going to tell which operation, whether it is going to read the data or write the data, or what operation is going to take place. Clear? Then relation with the data will be having address, the address of the memory where that particular data is present. So we should have, along with the control bus, we should also have address buses. Now once you get the address of the memory, then the actual data from that location will be transferred. Okay, then for that transfer we also require a data bus. That means for transferring data from one place to another, we require control bus, address bus, and data bus. Okay, so here the option C is the right one, where you have data bus, address bus, and control bus. Clear? Then we'll go to the next question, question number 37. What is the file extension that is loaded in a microcontroller for executing any instruction? File extension is after the file name, what you're going to write, dot. Okay, so the options are dot doc, dot c, dot text, or dot hex. It is obviously dot hex because hex is a system, number system, which can be converted into zeros and ones and which the machine can understand. So it is dot hex. So here the file extension for a microcontroller for executing any instruction is dot hex. Clear? Then we'll go to the next question, question number 38. What is the most appropriate criteria for choosing the right microcontroller of our choice? So whenever we choose a microcontroller for an application, okay, where we go to the concept of embedded systems. So at that time, in a particular microcontroller, with respect to that application, we should see option A, speed. We should also see the availability of that microcontroller. We should also see the ease, that is a compatibility of the product with the application. Okay, that means A, B, C, all the above mentioned are the criteria to choose a microcontroller for a particular operation or for a particular application which will be converted as an embedded system. Okay, so speed, availability, and ease with the product. All of the above mentioned should be the answer here. So answer D, all of the above mentioned. Okay. Then we'll go to the next question, question number 39. A microprocessor is a dash chip integrating all the functions of a CPU of a computer. Okay, so we always say that a microprocessor is a single chip which acts as a CPU. Okay, so it is a single chip on which all the CPU features are there. Okay, and that itself makes the main CPU of the computer. Clear? So here the answer should be single. So a microprocessor is a single chip integrating all the functions of a CPU of a computer. Clear? Then we'll go to the next question, question number 40. A microprocessor is the dash of the computer and it performs all the computational tasks. So out of the options what we are given here, main, heart, important, or simple. So in our general language, we can say a microprocessor is the heart of the computer and it performs all the computational tasks. So here the answer should be answer B, that is heart of the computer. Okay. So these are, students, another 20 questions what I've taken on DCET questions for microcontroller subject. Okay, if you are having any doubts or if you want to give me any feedback, you can send a comment or you can call me. Clear? And see that your basics of the subjects are strong. Once the basics of the subject is strong, any type of objective type of question, any type of multiple choice of question, you can develop a logic and answer in your exams. Okay, thank you, students.